Hello, my name is Wayne McNamara.
And I'm Sandy McNamara.
And we serve the Lord here at Christ the King Anglican Church. We have a school. We have several ministries that have grown over the years that we participate in. There we go. And maybe we can begin to talk about how we kind of got started. We've been serving a lot together in our married life. And we met in the same church in Bowling Green, Ohio. We attended there for several years, and after a while, kind of took notice of one another and asked the question. The big question for me was, I have so much to do in life and feel called to accomplish a great many things. It's really important who I marry, because that will determine how much of those things I'll be able to do and accomplish. And we dated for about 6 months and decided to marry, and one of my highest criteria was, are we better together than we are apart? And will there be a better return for our labor as we seek to serve the Lord? And 29 years later, I can say with a resounding yes, it has been exactly that abundantly.
Well, for me, our stories are the same, but I would say that as a single person in this Christian community that we were both a part of up in Bowling Green, the themes and the way of life that we learned from the leaders that we were under in that community were really about service. And so, while I had a career because I was in college and I had pursued a master's degree in education, still the uppermost desire in my heart was to use whatever gifts, talents, and career preparation that I had made to be able to serve the Lord. And so, for me, I remember vividly, actually, when we were preparing for our wedding day, that it was in those days in the 80s when it was popular to write your own vows to give to each other in the service, in the ceremony. And so I chose my vows from Proverbs chapter 31. And what was the real idea that stuck out to me in those verses in Proverbs 31 was the idea that wives are supposed to be people who are helpmeets. And one paraphrased idea in there in particular was important to me when it talked about how the wife or the woman, a Christian woman, is a person who goes out into the marketplace, and in this instance she sells belts, she takes care of her household, and all the list of things that's in that chapter, so that the end of the passage is that her husband sits among the gates as a part of with the elders of the land. And so those became the vows that I made to my husband when we got married, that I would be there as a person who would help him in the ministry so that he would be lifted up as a leader in the community.
Well, initially, as we were married, we were involved in campus ministry in Bowling Green, and someone from Bowling Green moved down here, started campus ministries at UD and Wright State, and it looked like there was the beginnings of a new parish or a new church, and he asked if we would come down and help. We did. Before we left, though, part of our experience, my experience, was beginning a crisis pregnancy center. Bowling Green is a university town, and that was a formational time of ministry for me. When we moved to Dayton, we served this new group of people, about 35 large, and I was served as an associate pastor, and 6 years later became the senior pastor of that that work. It was 1998 when we began Dominion Academy of Dayton, and the school has actually done very well. It's a unique model, a university model school, where the students are coming 15 to 18 hours a week, and plus extracurriculars, but it functions on that type of model. And that's, by God's grace, been a very, very successful endeavor. And I have to say, to a large extent, maybe to most extent, to my wife's dedication and continual effort and struggle and prayer and moving forward. It's done well. As a result of our school, a refugee ministry began in our parish. Our student government, was it student government?
Yeah.
They had to have their mandatory project, senior project or something, and they designed an orientation seminar in cooperation with Catholic Social Services. And so we had a dinner, we babysat the kids of the refugees, and we had an orientation, and members of our parish were there for that dinner and helped and caught something. And today we have a rather extensive refugee ministry, still working with Catholic Social Services, but right here in the neighborhood around the church building where we worship. A lot of activities, ESL classes, etc., happen here. We have also, in 1993, we began a nursing home ministry at Livingston, what's now called Livingston Care Center, and being there 18 years, we kind of service that nursing home almost like a parish. We have a priest who's dedicated to just serving the 100 or so people there. And
I would want to add to the ideas of ministry that, a couple things. First thing would be that the ministries that we have become a part of and that we have developed over the course of our married life really came about not because we went out and said, what are we going to do, but more just our lives coming in contact with people and situations that needed some kind of help. And so as we lived our lives, we came to realize that there were things that we should do. And one of those, of course, was starting the school, because we had our own children and we felt like we wanted a program for them that wasn't a 5-day program, because we wanted to raise them and not have other people raise them or their teachers raise them. We wanted to be more intricately a part of their life, especially as teenagers. So that was our reason. It was we had needs ourselves, or other people had needs, and we tried to meet them. And another thing I wanted to say, which is a little bit related to that idea, is that we wanted to pass our emphasis and our vision for living life in service to others and to God off to our children. So our son Joe, who's 25, he got involved in the nursing home ministry that was mentioned, and then he himself went and started his own ministry to group homes right here surrounding our church in the downtown Dayton area. And so he does service to these adults who can't live on their own, whether it's through mental disorders or physical disorders, and he brings them to church, he takes them grocery shopping, he takes them to their doctors. And so we have a second generation of our own, our kids' generation, who are, have caught that ministry vision, and that's been a big part of something that we've lived our lives to communicate to our own kids who are going to be the next generation.
One other ministry that began when we first moved into the city, we used to be out in Riverside, we moved into the city because we felt like as goes the city, so goes the region, and that having a Christian presence here in an inner city neighborhood would really make a difference for the health of the city. One thing we asked when we first moved here was, what is the most needy population, perhaps the weakest link between now and the future? And a particular couple in the parish, we had this conversation, and the answer was single moms with young children in the African American community. And so also what began then was a ministry called Samaritan Outreach, and it's been a very, very good thing. It's helping mothers break out of the poverty cycle and dependence on government money, and finding skills, job skills, parenting skills, financial skills, job-seeking skills, and becoming self-sufficient in Christ. And that takes time. These are people that you work with for years, not just weeks or months or because of a program. And so there are more long-term investments made in people's lives. And perhaps one other thing that we've tried to do, and we have partially begun, is to create what we call an intentional Christian community, finding a location, a place, and it happens to be the Huffman Historic District at this point, and have people from the parish move in and begin to live a life of prayer and eating together, getting to know your neighbors, and doing ministry in a geographical place, calling that your ministry. And so we've begun to do those things. It's not as developed as we're hoping things will be in the future, but we have a good start on that and plan to continue investing and making that more of a reality.